We are here today with Pauline, who is from PwC, and we're going to be finding out a little bit about her and her job. Very much the theme of this session is careers of the future, so understanding how skills of today can lead to jobs of tomorrow. And Pauline has one of these jobs that very, very much fits into jobs for today, but very much will be of increasing importance in the future. So we are being recorded, first of all. All the guests you're not on show for safeguarding reasons, but we do encourage you to ask any questions in the chat box as we're going through, and we will answer them at the end after we've heard a little bit from Pauline. We will also send out some polls throughout the presentation, so please do take the opportunity to click on the answers there. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts about our questions. And other than that, please do sit back and enjoy our Maths for Girls session, and we'll take that to yourself, Pauline. First of all, and most importantly, for the context of what we're talking about today, what is your job title and what does that actually mean? What do you do?
Okay. Hi everyone, thank you Alison for the mini introduction. So I'm Pauline, I'm a tech degree apprentice at PwC. So this is a little bit special as it's been quite new in the whole education university side. So what it basically means is that I am a university student at the University of Edinburgh while being employed by PwC as an apprentice. So I alternate between a full-time university student and work placements at PwC. So I've had so far work placements during the summer, during the holiday, and I'm currently on my full-year placement in a team at PwC. So tech degree apprentice is obviously centered around technology and personally more centered around data science. So we do a lot of computer programming things at university, but also a lot of mathematics, statistics, probabilities that I think are also very interesting and can be very helpful. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Okay, so you say data science is the thing that you're focusing on. So this might be one of these jobs that some people have heard of, but they don't exactly understand what that means in the everyday world. So what does a normal day or a normal week look like if you're a data scientist? What is it you do?
So yeah, a lot of people, when I say data science, are like, okay, that's a big buzzword in a way. But what it is, it's different stages of what we do with data that we collect from the real world, from any kind of websites, from surveys, anything. So first of all, what we do with the data,
just because of the age group, some of our guests, when you say data, yes, what does that actually mean as well? Yeah.
So data is pretty much any kind of information that you can collect from anywhere. So nowadays, the biggest source of data that we can have is obviously the internet, but it can come from surveys that you ask around people or just pictures. That also is considered data. Any kind of information really that you can find about the world around us. So it can be in forms of table, it can be in just blobs of data of words. So text, for example, would be what we call unstructured data because it's not properly put into tables, really. So all these kind of data, there's all types that we can find around. So our job, first of all, is to take that data, all that information, and try and make it in a format that we can understand. So we are going to clean it, make it a better quality, because, for example, if a table is full of void data or is null or is badly formatted, a computer won't be able to understand it properly. It's maybe a little bit more complicated, but we have what we call data types. So computer, if you tell that a specific cell or a specific line is an integer, it is not going to understand it the same way as a word. So you need to specify all these kinds of little things. So that's the first kind of job that we have. And then from there, we need to properly investigate it, analyze it, and make graphs out of it so that we can finally make decisions, predictions, and predictions specifically use a lot of mathematics to be able to utilize all this information so that we can have business decisions or, yes, predictions or insight research, all these kind of things.
Okay, so you mentioned the M word there, maths.
Yes.
So how did you, well, first of all, when did you realise that you wanted to do a job that was kind of maths based? Has it always been something you...
When I was a student at school, so from middle school, maths has always been one of my favourite subjects. I went to that class with like a big smile on my face, and it was something that I found exciting. It was always something new, and I liked the correctness of it. So yeah, 1 + 1 is 2. It's not going to be 2.5. That's the sentence I always liked to say. And as it continued on in my studies and I got to harder maths, it got just more and more interesting. All the things that you could possibly do. Was really excited also about the prediction side of statistics, how you can predict that a specific type of data based on what you had previously, different patterns that you can find. And yeah, I specialized myself because I went through the French high school and the French education. So I had the French baccalaureate with a maths specialization, specifically, yeah, because I just liked the exciting part of maths. Yep.
Okay, so you very much have always loved maths, which
Yes.
is great. But when you were thinking about what you wanted to do in the future, did you find it easy to work out which career you were thinking of choosing, or was that something you discovered later on?
So I was a little bit not confused, but I was wondering whether I wanted to go full on maths or if I wanted to join it with something else, like for example informatics. So at first I kept my option very broad. So I applied for both 100% maths degrees, and then I also applied for maths and computer science, but also more on the management business side. Okay. And I ended up trying to discover each of these paths with events like these, for example, conferences, courses online, just having a little taste of what it is. And I thought, like for my own personal interest, I would want to apply maths in something that is very clear to other people. And for me, data science, and analyzing information to be able to help people and to have insights, to have predictions, to help in real life, quite in a practical way, was for me the way that seemed the most appropriate for what I wanted to do, and just something that I like. But again, it can differ for many people. But that was my own personal way.
That's fine. So obviously you're still partly studying while you're also doing your job, which the beauty of a graduate apprenticeship, it's a really interesting way to learn for anybody that's not thought of that, because you get paid, but you also do proper university study. So it's a very nice balance. But when you're doing that, is there like an area that you already think to yourself, in my future, I want to work towards? Is it an industry that you're thinking that one's going to be for me, or are you still deciding what your future will be?
That's so often a question that my parents ask me, for example. So what are you going to do in the future? And my main answer is like, I'm not quite sure just yet. I have still so much to learn, so much to discover. And PwC with the placement has something that helps me a lot with that, is that whenever we work on a placement, we have the choice to rejoin the same team or we can ask to join a different one to discover either more about your team or just discover something different. And I've been switched teams so far so that I can discover the different aspect of the business. And I like a lot of things, and there are some others that I like a bit less because it's just personal preferences really. And so for now, I'm still wondering what I want to do in the future. There are a few things that I know I don't want to be part of because again, it's not something that I want to do. But I think I still need a little bit more time to decide. Something to do with making algorithms and using maths to be able. I like predictions a lot and some kind of machine learning algorithms. So trying to use lots of past data to be able, big data we call it, if that's another buzzword, so that we can properly predict what's going to happen in the future and how to react to it. Yeah.
Okay. Someone's asking, does it matter if you like some areas less than others?
Well, in life, I believe that there is sometimes when you're going to do things that you don't like, and sometimes that's necessary so that you can achieve something that you really like after. And sometimes you join something and you feel like you really like it, but then you can get bored of it. You just change your mind and you don't like it anymore, or it's not what you thought it was, and again, it's not your thing. So the only thing I would recommend is when you realize that it's not something that you like to do, make sure it's temporary and you don't stagnate in this kind of situation because that's never good. Your mental health is going to deteriorate, and that's obviously not something you want to do. But yeah, I think bad times or boring times is something that you have to go through anyways.
I will second that answer as someone who's quite a bit further along my career than you are, because things do change. So somebody else in the audience has asked a very good question. What exactly is an algorithm?
An algorithm is a little bit like a recipe on the computer though. So you tell the computer, okay, what do you want me to do? That's the thing. So just like you're cooking something, you tell the computer, okay, I want to define a variable that's called a, and the variable is equal to 2. And then we're going to make a loop, okay, for an iteration. So you repeat the stage 10 times and you add 1. And the computer is just going to do that. It's going to take your integer. It is going to add 1 10 times. That's one type of things. You have while loops. So while a condition is true, you're going to do whatever is inside and you repeat. And then you have many other steps that you can do, but it is very much a recipe from A to Z. You tell a computer what to do using different functions, either something that someone else has done before or something that you code entirely.
Okay, that was a lovely explanation of it. And I would love to get some more questions from the audience, so please do type in any question you have. While we're doing that though, I will just ask another math one. You mentioned the word integer there. I'm not sure all of the students will be at the age that they'll know what an integer is. I can't even pronounce it properly. So maybe you just want to put that in layman's terms.
Sure, so an integer compared to decimal is just a number that doesn't have a dot. So 1.0 is decimal, 1 on its own is an integer.
There you go. Always a simple answer if you just know the words behind it. Great. So as I mentioned, if anybody has any questions, please do type, but I will ask. So obviously this whole event today, it's about International Women's Day, and we work in a project called Maths for Girls, and you're a girl. Did you ever find that there was any times where you felt that there was pressure from yourself or other people about you choosing a route that was in maths and STEM? And STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, if anybody.
Yeah, so I started to realize that STEM wasn't a really girly subject when I was in high school. I specialized in maths, and it wasn't a 50-50 ratio like we used to have. And it struck me at one point when I was at university. There was a big lecture theatre shared by many schools, So we had a informatics course, and I was waiting at the door so that people could go out. And all of a sudden, when the doors opened, I was surrounded by girls everywhere. And I was like, oh, that's a shock there. Because I was so used of being surrounded by guys in lecture theatres, informatics degree specifically, that there was, I think it was a history lesson, and then all of the girls were there. And it was maybe just a 50-50 ratio in there. But because it was such a change for me, I was surprised. And I find that at university, people are more open to having a girl tell them more about technologies and maths and things like that. But for example, in the office, it was still the same. Like I'm the only girl in my team right now, so I'm surrounded. We're 16, and I'm the only girl. Even around the apprentices, it's pretty good because we have a lot of girls compared to other teams. But still, girls have to get. Maybe it's just something that girls don't like in general. But there are very few of them, and you have to make sure that teammates or friends or people you're working with understand that you have the same capabilities as them. Has happened to me at university that I was doing a presentation on STEM, and there was a part on the code, and the assessor, the one who was about to grade us and ask questions, when there was any questions about the code, he specifically mentioned the guy in the team while I was doing the coding because I was the only one from the informatics school. And I found it a little bit funny and quite annoying at one bit. And in the end, he understood that I was the one doing the coding and he was surprised again. So there is still a little bit of work left to do so that women can properly make others understand that they can do STEM too. And I think it's very important at the beginning when you meet people, especially in the working area, that you make sure they understand also that you can do things and you're just as capable as them.
Definitely, without a doubt, and I'm glad that you're putting that out there. Was there any times when you found the math side of things difficult? I mean, you say you had a passion for it, but have you found it difficult?
Yeah, I mean, maths at some point needs to get a little bit more complicated. And when you get, for example, when I got into uni, it started out easy with introduction things to get us properly on the same level and just a nice entry into first year university. But when it got to more complicated integrals, that kind of things, and then learning new things that we haven't seen in high school at a faster rate than high school, that needed to be picked up. I needed to pick up the speed. So yes, there's always moments in maths that I found difficult. Some things that are harder for me to get, something that are easier. But yeah, definitely there had been some hard moments with maths, trying to read through the books and pulling my hair about how is that working. Yeah, that's the fun part of it too.
Yeah, once you've conquered it, yeah, must be a lot of pride there. Okay,
Definitely.
and one of the other attendees are asking, they didn't realise that PwC would use data science because it is relatively a new industry. Well, it has been around for a long while, as long as computers, it is a relatively newish industry. But how important is it to the company?
So in the world right now, informatics is becoming more and more important. A lot of companies are struggling to properly switch to a full computer informatics side. So there are a lot of projects that require PwC teams to just switch companies completely to online because there are some that just have really, really old records, badly formatted and put down. There are a lot of projects like that, but also because there's so much more to do with informatics, and we're only discovering this in the past 10 years, and it's going so fast that PwC needs to keep up the speed with what is happening, and many other projects can be made faster and more efficient with the help of algorithms programs. And they have been developing 8 main technologies, so among which artificial intelligence, virtual reality, drones, data science, so that it can make their own like advice process audit faster and more efficient, and have just different kind of help that you can propose to clients.
Okay, so if it is that fast moving, we have a question here about what are the biggest problems that you face when doing your job. Does that come into part of it, just how fast changing everything is?
Well, it's a little bit of, I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's just something that you have to keep up with. So every time there's a new technology, is it worth investing in? Like personally, do you want to go and look into it? What do you find interesting? What do you not find interesting? And how it can be applied in real world situations? I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's something that I'm personally really interested to, and it's something that I really like about it. It's not boring. There's always something new happening, something more to discover or investigate. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's a problem.
Okay. And do you personally believe that data science is the future?
Oh yes, definitely. There's so much more that we can do right now. The amount of data and information stored in the world is exploding. It has an exponential rate. And with the technology that we have right now, it's just not enough. We can't properly process it and store it efficiently for the years to come. So we have to really properly investigate how to do that. And also with like all the processors powers of computers, how to store this data, because the more data we're going to have, the more difficult it's going to be later on. So that's definitely something we need to think about. And we're also discovering more and more, for example, machine learning or predictions algorithms to use so that we can do something even more interesting with that data. And there's still so much more to do about it.
So a good career for the future.
Definitely.
Good. So one of our guests has asked, what has been your greatest achievement or success in your job so far?
That's a little bit to think about, but right now I'm in a team that takes, like we're building a tool that would allow companies to see their own data a little bit better, to have a full insight of what is happening with the different sites they're in, etc. And we've been building that for months. So it's a really long-term project, and that tool is very precise. There's so much to do about it. There's the whole what we call the back end, so what to do with the data, process it, clean it, make it nice and formatted. And there's a whole other part about how to properly present that, what we call the front end, so that users can visualize it. And there was so much to do, the whole process. And it's not achieved yet since it's not yet done. But so far, I've been really happy with the team. I've been part of the team instead of just watching from afar, and I've been included in the team. And for that is already an achievement. Just bringing my piece of work to the overall project for me has been quite the achievement.
Excellent. And that sounds interesting because you were mentioning quite a few different roles there, and some of them sounded a bit more creative rather than maybe technical with the presentation of the data. So it sounds like you're learning lots of different skills there. It sounds very, very interesting, I have to say. Okay, so I think we've got time for one more question. And we've also popped a couple of questions for the audience in the chat box. So please do take the opportunity to reply to those. If anybody's got any questions, now's the last time to ask. But I'll ask one while we're waiting. So if you were to look back to yourself or give your younger self a little bit of advice, what would it be when it comes to your career?
So specifically at work, I would say don't hesitate to ask questions. Especially at PwC, people are very open. You can come up to them and be like, okay, I don't understand what's happening, or ask any kind of questions. How is that working? Or how can you do that? I don't know. And some people sometimes are busy and they're going to be like, oh, just wait a few minutes and I'll be there. But a lot of people also are just very happy to answer or to talk to you about anything they can, of course, talk about. But be open to talk to anyone and also ask about themselves, how they got there, and what they're doing right now, how they're doing, if they like it, if they don't like it, if you could like it possibly. So it's a great insight into your own career. So it gives you maybe some possibilities that you can follow, or can give you more ideas of what you want to do. Just seeing the possibilities is a great way of choosing what you want to do later.
Well, I think that's, well, actually, we have one more question. Would you do it all again?
I'd say I would do a few changes here and there, but on the main lines, I'll definitely go to that university, join the program, because for me, has been such a huge opportunity. Being able to study and work at the same time is not something that's given to a lot of people. And in such a great firm that is PwC is also such a nice chance that I've had. And of course, I have some regrets throughout my career life and what I've done before. But I would definitely rejoin the program. Yes.
Great. Well, that is lovely to hear, and I really do wish you all the best in your
Thank you
career.
very much.
I think there'll be great things ahead for you. For everybody else, thank you very much for coming along. I hope this was helpful to you, to give you some idea of one of the fantastic careers that maths can take you onto in your future. Thank you to Pauline
Thank you
and
very much.
PwC for letting you come along. For everybody else, you will be emailed an email with a survey form. We would love to get your feedback. We will also be posting this video along with others from the day on our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on our Instagram or Twitter at F4S Digital, and we'll be posting there too. We'd love you to take part. Hopefully we'll see some of you for some of our other sessions here today to celebrate International Women in Mathematics Day, and just thank you everybody for coming along. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, Pauline. It's been
Thank
really
you for having me.